Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Catch-Up with Mayo episode. And I'm here on Saturday, March 7th, 2026, 4 p.m. Eastern. Hey, I want to know, is everybody out there ready to set the clocks ahead an hour tonight? I know I am, because I hate winter and I can't wait for spring and summer. So, boy, I'm going to be looking forward to it staying lighter a little bit later and all that. So I have no problem with the old spring ahead business. I have no problem with that. Isn't that right, Gary? Well, I don't know how you feel, Gary, but hello to Gary. I'm glad Gary's able to make it. A lot of times I know, Gary, you have to watch these back on the playback, right? So it's good to see you here. And hi, Mike. Always good to see you. These are all my main guys here, the fixture of the Mayo channel. And Ramoga. Hello to Ramoga. Let's get this over with early, Ramoga, because I know this is the greeting that you like. That's a Ramoga shout out. Ramoga salute, if you will. So, hello to Joe F. What's up, Joe? And hello to Sergio. Cheers to you. And Douglas, hi. Good to see you. GS Publishing Direct, Spring Forward. Exactly. Yes. I was in the mood to do it. Sometimes I won't do it, or I'll wait a while till I'm feeling it, So we'll see how it goes. Hey, George. What's going on, George? Hello, Gloria. Welcome in Ohio. How's things in Ohio? I'll tell you, hello to, what do I call you? Can I say BB? Is that good? I don't know. B Sony. I got to tell you something. This is from the personal too much information bin. I got ready here. I took a shower before I came on here about an hour ago. Guess what? All of a sudden, no hot water. Okay. So I had to do this with, I had to get ready, shave. I had to shave with cold water. I had to soap up with, cold water. Hey, it's not like I don't pay enough rent here. God knows I pay ridiculous amounts of rent here. Okay. Hi, Robbie. Robbie says it's 86 degrees in Augusta, Georgia. Very good. And where is this? I'm in Canberra. Okay, I don't really know. I don't know what that is. Anybody else? No, I think one of the original reasons for changing the clock was to save on using candles. Yeah, whatever the origins are, I like it. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass having to change. You got to put the clock ahead. Then later on, you got to put the clock back. Yeah, I know it's a pain in the neck for sure. No doubt about that. I hear that my phone is ringing in the other room. I don't know who that is. Could be a spam call. Could be an important call. It's all the way in the living room. I hope it's not important. You gotta have hot water. You're telling me you do. You need hot water. Absolutely. I don't know what this is an odd occurrence. We usually have hot water just fine. I don't know what the heck was going on today. Oh, I see. Okay. The capital city of Australia. I have to remember. Hello to Jill. Good to see you here. She says, can't stay long, but thought I'd check in. Thank you very much. I appreciate your support. I'm not sure at this point whether I'm going to do on the other channel. On the other channel, last Sunday I did, everybody here might know, some people may know, I did the health and wellness show. I may skip it tomorrow and then do it the Sunday after, or I may do it tomorrow. I haven't decided yet. It depends believe it or not, I might be going to see the Elvis movie again, believe it or not. Oh, Bernard from Paris. Okay, from Paris. Okay, there you go. I hate the time change. Leave it the same way, one way or the other. The thing I want to know about that I'm not 100% sure of is, isn't there something about the way the earth turns and the sun and where it is that wouldn't it be that if we never change the clocks, would it be that sometimes it would be too dark in the morning and it would be too bright late at night? Like, wouldn't it not work as the earth changes, or am I wrong? I thought that's why they change it, but Penny Lane, what's going on? Penny Lane, it's, what the song says, in the ears and in the eyes, Did anybody ever see that wonderful show? I got to say, it's a wonderful show, Deconstructing the Beatles. There was another one on, I know it's on Channel 13, where I am, public broadcasting, PBS. How good that show was. Well, you can see the, I forgot the man's name. I apologize. Oh, God, I forgot your name. I'm sorry. The host he's wonderful, wonderful host. He's popular. I forgot his name. Sorry. Somebody will tell us. And he actually diagnoses, really analyzes the Beatles songs and gives you a real appreciation for the technicality that goes into technically how the Beatles songs are. Do I speak any other languages? I used to speak ubby-dubby, a little bit of that, I think I speak a little Pig Latin, Ixnay, not really. I don't speak any other languages. No, I don't. I always leave one clock at the same time year round. When using it, I always have to add or subtract an hour in my mind. Now look at this. Greetings from Spain. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's really amazing when you think that you can have all kinds of viewers here from around the world. It never ceases to amaze me. In May, this coming May, 2 months, I'll be doing this channel now 14 years. And I've been doing live streams. I think I started the live streams in 2017. So it's 9 years. I'm a good mathematician. So in 9 years, it'll be that I've been doing the live streams, and I never ceased to get amazed. Hello, how are you there, Flaming Pie, Spain? Right. Are you liking Man on the Run? Sorry if you have done this already. Well, I made a video talking about the movie. I enjoyed the movie. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. I have not played the record. I honestly don't intend on playing the record. No big surprise there. I'm collecting it to have my full Paul McCartney vinyl catalog. But I'm not going to say I'll never play it. It's stupid to say that, but not anytime soon, because there's nothing on there that I'm really nuts about. Terry, are you going to start collecting 4K DVDs, even if it's just for the contents of your favorite movies, even though you don't have a player? Or was 4K Westworld a mistake Blue Buy? Yeah, please check my movie channel. This is a good time to just, I'll address this quickly, folks. For those of you not interested, I won't belabor this too long. But please check out my movie channel where I just put up a video. This is Mr. Cinemayo, the movie channel. Do I have the other one? I don't have the other one. I've got two of these. One of them is a 4K. One of them is a Blu-ray. When I first ordered this one here, this is the 4K one. It said 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray. And I thought that meant that it was a combo set. I thought it had the Blu-ray, which is what I'm interested in. It did not. So I reordered it. I ordered it. They have one of these. It looks identical to this with the cover in Blu-ray. So I ordered the Blu-ray, and you could see all the video I did on that. And it's my newest video over on the other channel, Mr. Cinemayo. And yeah, I made a mistake. I didn't need to buy that. But the beautiful part about it is they each contain a poster. So I have this wonderful poster from the 4K one that I'm not really going to use. And I can hang this up. At some point, I will hang this poster up because I love this poster and I love this movie. And I'll do that. And the other poster, I'll keep intact in the box with the Blu-ray. So in other words, yeah, so I got a extra poster out of it. That's okay. But, I did get screwed. I didn't realize that the company offered a separate standalone Blu-ray. So I'll leave that up there for a while. Let's see. I noticed that beneath the Planet of the Apes poster behind you, it also says Beach Clothes. Is that part of the poster? No, it is not part of the poster. Yeah, that's a Jaws. That's a Jaws sign. It advertises the movie Jaws, and I just leaned it up against there. I'm going to have to move that. Just don't have a place for any damn thing here, folks. I have no room for anything. No room for anything. But let me now take this banner down. All right. Let's see. Mistake. I only have to add or subtract an hour for half the year. Okay, good. Okay. Yes, Mike, hello again. Is there any Rolling Stones album that is better than any Beatles album? Not to me, there isn't. I know I like the Rolling Stones. I don't think any Rolling Stones album is better than any Beatle album. However, I like the Rolling Stones. That's not a knock on the Rolling Stones. I'll say Hackney Diamonds is better than the Yellow Submarine album. How's that? That's as close as I could come. I don't know. Okay, Daniel. So you can listen to the 3 unreleased tracks of Man on the Run on Spotify. Nice to hear unreleased music from Dan in Florida. I love Florida. Too bad I can't. I would never get a tattoo by anyone or anything. I'm against tattoos. It's just my personal preference. I think I'm not a tattoo guy. I don't want to belittle people who get them. I don't understand it. Marking up your skin like that. And what if you ever change your mind? What if you ever change your mind and want to have it removed? And especially for the ladies, because I think women are beautiful and I think women have beautiful skin. And when they mark them up with tattoos, I'm not a tattoo guy. Some men, they think tattoos are very attractive. Don't get me wrong. It's not a deal breaker. If anybody's out there, any women listening that have tattoos, it doesn't mean you're not still attractive, but I just don't, whatever. You get the picture. I mean, I'm spoken for now. If I should ever have to, I hope I shouldn't even go here. I hope I never do have to go through the process again of meeting somebody. It's not a complete deal breaker, Hello, Johnny. How you doing, Johnny? Yeah, well, that's what I think. Absolutely. I know there's some great Stones albums out there. I remember when I say there's no, in my opinion, when I say there are no Stones albums that are better than Beatles albums, I'm not talking about stuff like the Decca tapes. I'm not talking about stuff like Beatles Live in Hamburg. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the main official UK Beatles catalog. Hi, George. Thank you for joining us here. Always good to see your name. Yes, okay, there you go. George Smith tells us time change was started during the World War I era to aid the farmers. There you go. Is it true about George and Ringo's first wife? I don't know what that's about. And if one day you ever get a player, you can do a comparison to the 4K. Well, the 4Ks. Well, yeah, but like I said, I've heard things about 4K discs. I've heard that they skip a lot. I've heard that they freeze, that they're problematic at times. Not all of them, but some of them. Somebody told me that's mainly Sony players do that. Sony players trip up 4Ks, but I don't need that garbage. I'm happy. I'm totally happy with Blu-ray. They look wonderful. And I'm getting older. I'm going to be 64 next month. My eyes are not what they were. So what do I need? 4K, and then 8K, and then 16K, et cetera, et cetera. Or is it 12K? Did I miss 12K? Don't want to get ahead of myself there. And then I've heard that some people say that there's not much difference between 4K and Blu-ray for a lot of films they watch. So depends on where you are. I'm at the western edge of Eastern time zone. So EST all the time would mean dark earlier in evenings here in summer. Hate that. Daylight savings all year, I'd love. Yeah, me too. Watching the Wheels is the best song on Double Fantasy. Watching the Wheels, that's not a bad judgment. I don't know of the John Lennon songs. That's a tough one. I guess I would say Watching the Wheels is John's best song. I think I'm Moving On is Yoko's best song on it, and Watching the Wheels could be the best John song. But I mean, Woman is great, and so is Beautiful Boy. Those three to me. What's your take on Son of Frankenstein tonight on Svengoolie? It's an all-time favorite. I love the old Universal monster movies and the Frankenstein series in particular. It's a great movie. It's Bela Lugosi's greatest role next to Dracula. You have Dracula, then you have Igor from Son of Frankenstein. I think it's a great film, great monster film. Basil Rathbone is in it. He's terrific. The inspector there, the wooden-armed inspector, by Lionel Atwill. It's if you like the old movies, it's essential viewing. And even though I've seen Son of Frankenstein 1,013,000 times, I will probably watch it tonight just for the fun of seeing it on this Vanguli show. So I may do it again tonight, even though I'm in the middle right now of a Godzilla marathon. Every Saturday I want to watch a Godzilla film. I may skip it. The Son of Frankenstein. Okay, I'm glad you asked me about this. Did you watch Borrowed Time, and what did you think? I have been in no rush to see Borrowed Time because I think I know what it's going to be, and I think I've seen some of it. It's going to be a lot of talking heads, the same old kind of, typical documentary of people talking about John and stuff like that. Now, somebody told me it was on YouTube. So what I did was I went over on YouTube and I clicked on it. And the version of Borrowed Time that I saw, it was a long version. I don't know how many hours it was. Was it 4 hours or something? I'm not going to sit through 4 hours of it. And I just took the old mouse and I went click, 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 click all the way through. And all I saw was people talking. That's all I saw. Bah, 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 bah. I mean, so the answer is no, I haven't watched it. The proper version, the normal length, typical length version, I have not seen. I'm in no rush to, because I've heard it's not anything terrific. Sorry to anybody who participated in it, but would Wings have sounded as good without Linda? I don't think so. Her vocals and harmonies gave Wings a distinctive sound that would be missed. I agree. The thing is, Wings is, to me, Linda and Denny Lane are essential. Those are the three. Paul McCartney, Linda McCartney, and Denny Lane. Those are Wings, as far as I'm concerned. Now, when you put Joe English in there, and you put you put Denny Sywell in there, and you put Lawrence Juba, Steve Holley, Jeff Britton, I don't want to forget anybody, Henry and Jimmy. Anybody you put in there, it's beautiful, beautiful, talented, all of them great. However, Linda's a big part of that sound. I agree with you. Without Linda, there's no Wings. So I believe The Bride is a musical. Really? I've seen a little ads for The Bride that's out now. I will not see it. I have no desire to see it. I may be missing a fun movie. I've heard good things about it, but I don't know. You don't know when you see reviews these days if they're legitimate reviews or they're done by bots or AI reviews. Staggers me here in England. People that plead poverty have tattoos, they vape, and they have pets. Yeah, it's not just in England. Terry. Side 2 of Yellow Submarine is better than any Rolling Stones album. Thank you for that hot take. I don't agree. I don't agree. I mean, I appreciate George Martin's score for sure, but Part 2 of Mark Lewis's Beatles trilogy is coming out within the next 3 years. Mr. Blood Vessel, is that true? There's been a lot of Mark Lewison around lately, and I always like Mark. I always think he's a genius writer, and I think he's always a great historian and an investigator. Finds out all the juicy details we didn't know. He's great. Can't wait for Tune In Part 2. I've been waiting now for 13 years, I think. 13 years ago was the first volume, I think. But I haven't been following these things that he's involved with. This thing called Evolver. I haven't followed Evolver. Honestly, I don't even know what Evolver is. Shame on me. But I haven't followed it. I want to see Mark's next book with a lot of chapters in it is what I want to see. Have you seen the fantastic Bobby Keys documentary, George Guests on Guitars, on his solo albums? I have not. A lot of things I haven't seen. Huh? No indelible ink under my skin ever. And I don't like them on men either. Just me. I hear ink under skin could be bad health-wise too. Yeah, I don't know. It amazes me sometimes. What is Paul McCartney's best 3-album run? Very good question. Let's see. First thing that pops in my mind is Band on the Run, Venus and Mars and Wings. That's what I think it is. I got to think some more. First thing that comes to mind is Band on the Run, Venus and Mars, and Speed of Sound. That's my first thinking of it. But I haven't really been doing a lot of thinking, Anyway. First thing that came to mind, or maybe there's better. A woman with a lot of tattoos is not attractive to me, in my opinion. Maybe one is fine, but not all over. I have not read the long version of Tune In, with all due respect to people who have. I know Andy Nichols was showing that he has the big volume, and he was saying, I'm not interested in Paul's great grandfather from the 1700s or the 1800s, whatever that is. As far as I'm concerned, I'm only interested in the story starting when Ringo was born in July of 1940, and John is born in October of 1940, and then Paul and George, that's when I'm interested. I'm not interested before 1940, and I have very limited interest in, I want to know the truth about their immediate parents. I want to know about, John's parents and Paul's family and all that. All right, but I don't want to know about their ancestors. I don't care, honestly. I think the Beach Boys and the Stones had a lot of filler in their albums. Beatles albums were solid, memorable songs. I agree. I think the Beatles are largely unique in that there's not a lot of filler. Now, of course, we could nitpick the usual suspects. We could say, well, you got Revolution 9, you got Wild Honey Pie, you got Dig It, you got Maggie. I could come up and explain those easily, all of them. First of all, they're just segues. Revolution 9 is one big experimental track. They did it once, like something really outrageous like that. And it works good in the White Album because the White Album is a little bit of everything. And the other things, Wild Honey Pie and Why Don't We Do It in the Road? These are little, I call them little segues, little bits of nonsense in between the proper songs. So I could take a little breather, have a little fun with them. I'm okay with that. And as far as like Maggie May and Dig It, so the little short segments like that, those are supposed to be part of the experience of the Let It Be movie. You're watching, it's like a Let It Be soundtrack bits in a way. Someone told me once, if you put a regular DVD into a car CD or MP3 player, you can listen to the movie while driving. Don't know if this is true or not. I don't know about that either. I think Woman is the best song on Double Fantasy. It's one of the best. And Starting Over is the best song on Double Fantasy. Not for me, it isn't. I enjoyed hearing Just Like Starting Over when it first came out in 1980. I was 18 years old. Like so many fans, I had waited for John to come back into the business again because I had been a John Lennon fanatic with his solo career since about the age of 15. I first became really deeply into John in 1977. And we all know John was retired as a musician during that period. So I waited. It seemed like forever. It was only 3 years. But finally, sure enough, he came out with Double Fantasy. The first time I heard his voice on Just Like Starting Over, I was in absolute paradise. It was amazing to hear his voice again out there on the radio. What a treat. However, it's not my favorite song on the album, personally. I'm waiting for AIK, where you could walk around inside the film and have dialogue. There's a lot of horrors. There were a lot of horrors coming with that. You ain't seen nothing yet. And it's going to be a lot of horrors unless the law buckles down heavily against it. There's going to be a lot of stuff. Good afternoon to Black Chub Bear 1. Paul did the theme to Live and Let Die. John could have done the theme to Diamonds Are Forever by changing the lyrics to Strawberry Fields Forever. There you go. Borrowed Time was on Tubi, and it was Talking Heads. Yeah. I'm interested, but let me also say I'm not against some Talking Heads in documentaries. I'm one of the people that doesn't mind that. I mean, you have to have people who know what they're talking about, historians or people who were there, people who have their memories at the scene of things, and they could tell their stories. I have no problem with that, but if it's going to be overdone with way too many, then it's a different story. Speaking of Basil Rathbone, did you like the Sherlock Holmes movies? I love the Sherlock Holmes movies with Basil Rathbone as Holmes. And Nigel Bruce says, Dr. Watson, check out my Mr. Cinemayo movie channel, where I do some reviews on some of those. And there'll be more of those to come if you just hang on. All right. Now, my channel's name is Mean Mr. Mayo. Let's be clear on that. A lot of people have said you've changed your name. I have not changed my name. My channel name is still Mean Mr. Mayo. I've noticed it's been changed and missed the original name as it fit perfect. You could use the name for Beatles Plus and keep handle original. No. No and no. I appreciate your thoughts, but to me, my channel's name is still Mean Mr. Mayo. When I put Beatles Plus on it, that's just a little tag as to what it is about, parentheses or subtitle. But Mean Mr. Mayo is the channel name. The handle is going to stay that way for reasons that I choose, because the handle will mean it is me. It has to say Mean Mr. Mayo Beatles Plus in the handle, and no change to it. That's why I often like the handle, and I encourage people, it's just my opinion, I encourage people to keep their handle identical to their channel. That's how I feel about it personally. I know when it's all together, it gives the impression that it's the whole name, but whatever. I'm very happy with it. I want people to know it's Beatles on here, Anyway, thank you, though, for your thoughts. I've been to see Epic 3 times, and there's certainly an average age audience. Most younger won't be bothered, some not even knowing who Elvis was. Well, I'm supposed to possibly be going to see it again tomorrow. My friend Anthony's been wanting to see it, and I think it's still hanging around in one theater, and there's a chance I may see it for the 3rd time. Honestly, I like the movie. I liked Elvis Epic, but 2 times was plenty for me. At the moment, plenty, and to see it 3 times, I'll do that. But that's just basically for the fun of seeing it with a friend. That's the reason that I would. Okay, I've given up on Mark Lewison, honestly. Well, the longer he goes without producing that next volume, tune in too, it gets tough. It gets tough. Do you like the speech tracks on Anthology 1 CD? Were they right to drop them from 2 and 3? It doesn't bother me. They don't bother me. I don't think it was necessary, but I don't mind that they're there, if that makes any sense. Borrowed Time is on YouTube in 3 hours, I think. Very interesting. John hired folks that did Pink Floyd concerts, and it was going to be technically ahead of its time. What could have been? I got to say, I know, when it comes to the idea of John touring in 1981, I think there was maybe paperwork on that. I seem to remember paperwork about that, but I've always felt that it was never cemented in stone. John, very much the day that he died, I think it was talking about, he was thinking about it, that there was nothing set yet, but apparently I'm wrong. And I think physical evidence has come to light now that there was physical evidence that he was set to tour in 81. But based on what John has said, when you listen to his interviews, particularly the RKO interview in 1980, he basically just says, this would be fun. I thought making this, let's take it on the road, he kept saying, and then he said, if we could be accepted, if we could enjoy the music and be accepted as John and Yoko together, then I'd be happy to go out there. But I didn't know that there was anything definite on there. Do you ever watch Gen Z videos first time listening to the Beatles? Actually, I do. I enjoy that. I enjoy people, particularly young people. And I don't just do that with the Beatles. I do it with also movies. Watch first time reaction on movies I like, Jaws or The Exorcist or whatever. I like to see young people's first reactions, and I really enjoy that. And there's a nice couple out there. I've talked about them, a young Asian couple, I believe, and they have a channel called First Listen, and they went through all the Beatles albums, and it was a wonderful experience. And also they went through some of the solo albums, and especially Vito, his name is, his reaction to John Lennon Plastic Ono Band was matched the way I felt the first time that I had ever listened to it. But anyway, I enjoy those. Most of them I enjoy. I like the old classics of horror movies and film noir movies. I really don't like remakes. Well, same here. By the way, I just got The Fugitive with David Jansen. I've never seen the Fugitive episodes. I mean, over my life, I've seen a little snippet of episodes here and there on TV, but I've never sat to watch all the episodes of The Fugitive. So I sent away, and I'll be talking about that on my movie channel. Again, it's important to, you don't know what you're going to get. Movies, TV shows, comic books, autograph collecting, nostalgia, pop culture, all kinds of things on my 3 channels. So please subscribe to all 3. But anyway, I actually had the desire to order from Amazon The Fugitive, the complete series. And I ordered it at 11 o'clock at night, and I got it at 11 o'clock the next morning. And that's without joining anything special or without paying extra speedy money. I don't know how it happened. I got it in 12 hours. That was incredible. And I've already watched the first 5 episodes, and it's pretty consistently good. Evolver is Mark Lewison on stage speaking with slides. I think I've seen some of that video now that you mention it. I'm 15 minutes into the 198 borrowed time. Lots of talking heads so far. Yep, save it. Come on, side 2 of Some Girls, and especially Tattoo You, are great. I like all of Some Girl, the album Some Girls, and there's lots of Stones albums I like, but I'm not denying that. I'm not disputing that. Is Paul's best solo 3 album Flowers in the Dirt, Off the Ground, and Flaming Pie? No, because I don't think that much of Flowers in the Dirt. And I like Off the Ground, but they're not among his best. I mean, you could say Flaming Pie. Well, I'm not going to say Run Devil Run. I don't know. How terrifying must it have been for the parents to have babies during a world war? Yeah. It's all subjective. To Stones fans, they have no fillers. Well, it is subjective, and I'm speaking subjectively for me. What I say here is just my opinion, subjectively for me. You're right about that. Many people and experts always rank Band on the Run as Paul's best. I don't agree. For me, it's Ram, Venus and Mars, then Band on the Run. Well, Ram is my favorite album. Ram is my favorite album. For years, that's exactly what I did. I said Ram is number 1. I said Venus and Mars are number 2. And then maybe Band on the Run or somewhere in the top 3 or 4 or 5. Excuse me. But what happened for me is I got tired of Band on the Run. It was starting to get played out. But if I'm to look at it, at Paul's albums, not from my own, subjective perspective, but objectively, what do I think is his finest works? Band on the Run is probably his finest solo album, with Ram there and Venus and Mars there and Tug of War there and Flaming Pie there. To me, those are among his best, I guess, technical albums. You know what I mean? I believe there's such a thing where you can think of albums from what you personally like the best, which are your favorites, and which ones, aside from what you think of them, how you feel like, if you feel it's technically a good album or not, whether it speaks to you much or not, you can still tell it's one of his best albums. So Beatles should have toured here in Australia in '66 while they were in Japan and the Philippines. Well, at least there was that wonderful Melbourne, Australia concert that's available. It's a scientific fact that Watching the Wheels is the best song. We won't get into that game. I remember when Just Like Starting Over first came on the radio, the guitar sounded like some song from Mind Games. I remember when I first heard Just Like Starting Over, people had asked me, they said, I didn't hear the new John Lennon song. What did it sound like? And the best thing I said was that song, to me, after hearing it only once, I said it was something like that song, I can't smile without you, feel sad when you're sad, feel glad when you're glad. To me, that's how I remembered the melody in my mind. On the Give Me Some Truth album, why is there a little arrow pointing at John's ear? I don't know. I guess that's supposed to be the idea that, I know he's the man. He's thinking some truth. I don't know. Just give me some truth, right? The arrow right to the head. Who knows? I've watched many a music documentary, and once Dave Grohl is a talking head, I switch off. The guy's an expert on everything. An overabundance of talking heads ruins otherwise good documentaries. I agree. Again, I have nothing against them. I think talking heads are often essential to many documentaries, but it can be overkill if you're not careful. How do you like the idea of carrying on doing Beatles and solo albums like was suggested in '69? Yeah, well, we don't know because they didn't really do it. I think they could have done it. I think they could have done it. Probably could have, but not forever. Maybe they could have done it for another few years, but eventually they'd have to stop. I think the way it turned out was perfect. The Beatles broke up at the right time. They have a perfect catalog, from, say, the albums from Please Please Me to, say, Abbey Road, or if you prefer, switch Let It Be. It's a perfect catalog. They went out on top. They always are going to be great with their catalog. And then they went on to make wonderful solo music. All Things Must Pass, Ram, Plastic Ono Band, Imagine, all that kind of stuff. And they did great in the early days. And Ringo had some hit singles, right? It Don't Come Easy and stuff. And, it went fine, So I have no problem with the Beatles breakup, I still think that if they had carried on, the Beatles eventually, it's only natural that they'd have to eventually hit a sour note, of an album or something. Do you like certain new wave groups? When we talk about new wave, I love Blondie. I love the Cars a lot. That whole sound. I mean, I like that whole era where it was, I don't know what you'd call it, synthesizer music, and it was late 70s, early 80s kind of thing. I really like that. Okay, greetings, Tim. Just wondering if you're going to be doing a video on the pending 45th anniversary reissue of Yoko's Season of Glass album this summer. No, I won't, but I would I'm not going to get it either, I don't think, unless I get sent a complimentary copy. But I like the album. I haven't played it in a long time, but I always say, I know people here, a lot of them don't like Yoko, but I'm going to tell you, they always say, well, if I wanted to try an album, which one? I'd say Season of Glass is a good album. To try that, Approximately Infinite Universe, and Fly. To me, those are the three albums. So I think it's a fine album, actually. Even though you're not a massive Elvis fan, do you believe Colonel Tom Parker was eventually bad for Elvis? Yes, I do. Yes, I very much do. I think that Colonel Parker was really to be commended for starting Elvis out. And he really set Elvis on the right path. And again, I'm not an expert on Elvis, but from what I feel and what I think I know a little bit of, and then he got him stuck in the movie contracts, and Elvis had to do a lot of things he didn't want to do with the Colonel, and he could never go to England, and he could never go out of North America because the Colonel held him back, because the Colonel could, he had a problem where he couldn't go out of the country and stuff like that. So Elvis couldn't tour anywhere else. And also Elvis wanted to do the movie A Star Is Born in the 70s with Barbara Streisand, and Chris Christopherson wound up doing it. And I think that would have been great for Elvis to do that role. And I think, from what I understand, the Colonel stopped him from doing that. So I always say this, when Elvis sang the song My Way, I Did It My Way. I love when Frank Sinatra sings it, because with Frank Sinatra, I believe that the man did it his way. He's the boss, Frank. He's the chairman of the board. When Elvis sang I Did It My Way, you did not do it your way. You did it the Colonel's way. You didn't do it your way. That's how I feel. But that's not taking anything away from Elvis's wonderful voice, because audio-wise, vocally, it was a great performance of that song. I love the way Elvis sings it. I just don't believe it. I don't believe it when he sings it. Spring Heel Jim, hello. What's the good word? Hello, Robert P. Just popping by to say hello. Got a lot going on today. Just getting home and catching up. It was hard to leave. 78 degrees for 40 plus and raining. Yeah. I'm sure of that. I enjoy you and Tim on your movie channel, but what happened to Tom? Well, Tom's not always able to make it. It depends on his work schedule, and it depends on sometimes he's not working, but he's got other things he's got to do. And he also goes to see a lot of movies. He goes to the theater a lot. So Tom Hunyadi is on anytime he can. But right now, in addition to Tim, we also have 4D Man is his name. So check that out over there. And in case you don't know, it's on my other channel, Mr. Cinemayo. It's a movie show live like this with people, with guests. I say guests, co-hosts, and some guests, and your comments. And that's over at Mr. Cinemayo every Monday. Okay, so check that out. I'm Losing You is my favorite John Double Fantasy song. I think I like the outtake with Cheap Trick even more. I've never liked the Cheap Trick version. I know everybody loves it, and supposedly that's what you're supposed to like better, but I don't. I don't like it better. I'm glad they didn't use that one. Personally, that's just for me. Nothing against Cheap Trick. I just like the released version better. I love the Charlie Chan movies. My favorite Charlie Chan is with Sidney Toler. Which Charlie Chan actor do you like? I like the Charlie Chan movies as well. My favorite actor is Warner Oland. You know, I like Sidney Toler as well. Joe, check out the video about Paul recording Venus and Mars at C. Saint Studios in my hometown, New Orleans. That studio was a mile away from my childhood home. It's sad that it's a saloon or salon now. Saloon. Okay. All right. There were 5 Decca audition tracks on Anthology 1. Were they the right choice? I honestly can't remember which ones they chose now. You know, I still would like to see them do another. They've had the Decca tapes come out in various album forms for many, many years, many times. I like to see a more official one come out if they can. You know, can't wait for Yoko's Season of Glass re-release. It's colored vinyl, I believe. Man in a Suitcase. I'm not sure. I don't know what that is. I forget the Harrison Ford Fugitive is a remake. I saw The Fugitive with Harrison Ford in the movie theater when it first came out. I liked the movie. I enjoyed it. I haven't seen it since, and it's funny. Ever since I'm rewatching the David Janssen 1960s television series now of The Fugitive, I just discovered I'm feeling like I want to see the Harrison Ford movie again. Watching young people reacting, not just the Beatles, but other groups from the 60s and 70s, and being amazed by the performances confirms how great the Boomers' music was. Absolutely. Is Blade Runner a favorite of yours? You never seem to mention it. No, I don't. I'm not familiar with Blade Runner. I may have seen it in the movies, but I don't remember it. I don't dislike it. I just don't know it. I know. I just hear people say statements like, "Oh, this is the best Beatles song." There is no such thing. Maybe it's your favorite, but there's no such thing as the best subjectively. Unless you mean objectively, I'm all mixed up with that. Yeah, you can't come, when it comes to the Beatles, you can't say that one of their songs is definitely the best, like factual fact. Can't do that. Okay, hot take. Well, not really such a hot take. This is a common take. Double Fantasy would not have won Grammy for Album of the Year if it wasn't for what happened, and may not even have been nominated. I think you're right. I mean, it's not a hot take. It's, yeah. If John hadn't been murdered, let's say it, sad as it is, Double Fantasy would not have won Grammy of the Year, but I think it's fantastic that it was respect to John and respect for the widow Yoko, and that's a wonderful clip on YouTube when Yoko and Sean go up to accept the Grammy and Yoko's crying. It's a wonderful moment. Okay, I love that. Sad topic. A guy said in borrowed time that he witnessed John's assassination. Said he was lying on the pavement. Now in the vestibule. What's the truth? Well, yeah, I don't want to get too much into that. I've heard different things about that. I'm pretty sure that he stumbled to the back. I'm talking about it anyway, right? He stumbled to the back area, vestibule through the archway and around the back, and then he was taken by police car to the hospital where he expired in the police car. That's my understanding of it. A horrible night. Did you have any SSP cars they could really dent up? I think I did. Are they called SSP? It sounds vaguely familiar. That's something else, P. The little cars. Have you seen The Devil's Own with Harrison Ford and Brad Pitt? Nope. Have not, Douglas. I Can't Smile Without You, Barry Manilow. Yeah. Have you listened to every available Beatles live show? I was really into it when I was younger, when I was like 15, 16, 17. I mean, I hear every bootleg. To tell you the truth, I may have heard every live show, but the Beatles were not very good when they were recorded live during Beatlemania all the time because, of course, they couldn't hear themselves. Too many screams. They sometimes would play too fast just to get it done. Sometimes they'd be laughing in the middle of the song. I forget. I have a concert somewhere where they're singing it. They're going real fast. Or If I Fell and laughing and goofing off through the whole song. There's not a lot of live Beatles that I really think is really good, to tell you the truth. Let's be honest about it. I walked into Licorice Pizza and they were playing Just Like Starting Over. At that point, I'd never heard it before. I wonder if Ringo or Paul watch your reviews on their releases. Surely they must, especially that we know the Harrison and Lennon estates know about you. Well, I didn't know that the Harrison estates know. Do you know something I don't know? Because the Harrisons never gave me any indication. Do you know something I don't know? But definitely the Lennon estates do watch me. There's no doubt about that. I've talked to Sean about it, So when I met him, I appreciate that, but I'm honest, I'm honest, and that's what they want. They want you to be. I don't love everything, I don't. When I do my reviews, I talk about things I didn't like if it applies, and they encourage that because they want to know what they can do better, they say. And that's just a matter of my opinion or what I think they could do better or not. Sean knows that I don't appreciate when he takes the saxophones out of his dad's music. He knows I don't like that, and I say it. And they know that I did not like that they chose to take the controversial "Woman Is" song off Sometime in New York City, and that's and I made that clear. But that's I appreciate that they don't mind honest commentary, because it's from the heart. When I praise something, they know I'm really praising it because I like it, I don't really listen, no politics here. Can we come on, let's get the politics out of here. Please. I don't do that here. Colonel Parker was kind of like a Brian to Elvis. He presented him well, but outlived his usefulness. Well, yeah, but I don't think Brian really had the Beatles by the necks as much. A little bit. They didn't want him to talk about. He didn't want the Beatles to talk about the war in Vietnam and so forth. Let's see. I read somewhere that the Beatles didn't really like doing live concerts. They preferred recording in the studio. Have you heard that? No, I think they enjoyed live concerts. There got to be a point where they didn't enjoy it anymore. I think from everything I'd always heard, they liked it. And but after a while, it became just a show to see, to just not to hear their music, just to go there and get crazy and scream and yell and have fun. But they weren't there to appreciate the music, really. And that they didn't know. And I can understand that. And I think it's a great thing that they stopped touring and worked on Sgt. Pepper. And I think it's fantastic. Have you seen No, I haven't seen the Bobby Keys documentary. No, I was asked that before. What's the best song on Flowers in the Dirt? For me, it's always been the song This One. I think This One is a great Paul song. Another one I love on Flowers in the Dirt is Put It There. These days, I think I like Put It There better than this one even. Those are my two favorite songs on there. Which is your favorite, Come Together or Something? I got to go with Come Together, even though I love Something. That's really tough. That's really tough. Hello, Carlos. Greetings to you in Brazil. Thank you for saying hello. Are you getting the Yoko Ono re-release of Season of Glass? No, I'm going to pass on it, even though I do think it's a fine album from Yoko. It's one of her better albums, if anybody wants to give it a shot. How's the weather? It says 44 degrees and cloudy, it says here. Yeah. It hasn't been so bad. It hasn't been too cold. People said that Parker wasn't a great manager for Elvis. In some ways, I think he was. In some ways, I don't think he was. Which 3 Elvis Presley movies would you recommend to someone, not me, starting their Elvis journey? Well, it depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for pretty girls and the beach blanket bingo nonsense, there's a lot of them I could recommend. But if you want good movies, definitely King Creole. Even watch King Creole. King Creole, Jailhouse Rock, and then the third one, maybe Loving You. What does people think? Elvis fans out there, what do you think? If you're talking about, but you see, if you're talking about his regular movies, like you see Terry saying like concert movies, I'm talking about regular movies. Am I on time? It's always on time as long as I'm still here. Yeah. 2 more George Harrison Zoetropes are coming out for Record Store Day. 2 more items I don't need to get. Same here. I'm not buying them. I'm not interested in them. I hate talking about John's date. I think you mean when he died. I watched all of Man on the Run on Prime TV. It was quite good, but also disappointing as well. What was disappointing for you? Do you think singers, actors, artists become more iconic cult status if they die at an early age rather than live to their 80s and 90s? Well, that's interesting because a lot of times that happens, and this is my soapbox, folks. I'm getting on my soapbox here because it happened to John, too. John became an iconic martyr, a legend. John the legend, John the martyr. Can't blame the man. The man was murdered, However, that only worked that only happened in 1980s, 1985, 1990s. Now we're 46 years past that. And now it's the point where I think it's gone against John Lennon anyway, personally, because unlike Paul, who's been here the whole time, and thank God for that we have Paul, to continue to make albums and to tour and to really turn on Generation Z and all the youngsters and everything that come along. John has been gone 46 years, and I think it might have at once been, I don't want to use the word advantage because there's no advantage to what happened to John. But I mean, whereas it kind of like made him this figure, this iconic figure, I think it's now just made him less. That's my opinion. A lot of people don't agree with that. That's fine. I think he's too overlooked. A lot of times when you hear, and I keep note of these things, a lot of times whenever you see a younger person or an older person, it doesn't matter. When people say, who's your favorite Beatle? They always say, always meaning 98% of the time, it seems to me, they'll always say either Paul or George. I don't hear John that often anymore. I used to hear John a lot more when John was alive. And I used to hear John a lot more, say, the first 10 years after he'd been killed, So that's how I feel about that. Yeah, we're not going to talk too much about that. Hello, Dr. Rick. Yeah, well, I went a long way without getting COVID, and then I had it a couple of times, but yeah. Oh, I know what. That's right. Thank you for. Yes, I had one of those. Those were cool. The SSP. I know what they are now. I had a green one. I forget what it was. It was a green flatter type of thing. It looks sort of like Mustang, but not really. I don't really know cars. And you had the coordinate. You pull it, and then you let it zoom, go ahead. The guy in Borrowed Time is totally wrong. Yeah, I don't. That doesn't sound right at all. The guy who said he was a witness. Apparently, Baz Luhrmann has already started polishing Elvis on tour. That's fine. That's fine. Baz Luhrmann has become to Elvis what Peter Jackson has become to the Beatles, I guess. The Beatles only during the 60s played for roughly 22 minutes at least during the Beatlemania days. True. To think the Beatles had to play for hours in Germany, but only had to do 20 minutes once famous. I wonder if they wanted to do an hour but weren't allowed. Something is a great song, but Come Together is even better, and the best opener for Abbey Road. It was a great opener, sure. Yes, indeed. I didn't realize this at the time I made my video about the new Ringo album, Long, Long Road. But yes, the purple shirt that Ringo's wearing on the Long, Long Road cover, he's wearing the same shirt when he was in the studio. You see him recording the White Album. You see the same shirt. I think it's the same shirt. And then I think he took it to the cleaners or something in order to get it cleaned. You see, Ringo has said in interviews that he saves everything. He said, I'm a hoarder. And he said, I save all my clothes, for example. So, yeah, he saves his clothes. And sometimes you see pictures of him with the Sergeant Pepper jacket on, with the cap and all that from the Pepper cover. So, yeah, too bad I didn't realize that when I made my video. But the next time I talk about the album, when it comes out, which hopefully will be a very good album, like the last one, hopefully I'll mention that. What do you say? We got Matthew Smith here. Hello. All this Talking Heads talk has me wondering, what's your favorite Talking Heads song? Is it called Wild Wild Life? I think I like that song. I don't know many of them, but I like that. I expect you may have had this question before. What director would you choose instead of Sam Mendes? Well, I'm not gonna say anything negative against Sam Mendes until I first get to see the product, to see his movies. I don't know. I've seen an awful lot of clips of them filming those Beatles films now, whatever they're going to do. I've seen a lot of footage of it. So I assume some of you have too, and I have mixed reactions, but it's far too early for me to really talk about that. I'll wait to see how the finished product is, or the finished products are, since there's supposed to be 4 films, before I judge him. So there you go. Hello, James Martinez, right? Never been a big Elvis fan. Really enjoyed my Man on the Run soundtrack. I'm glad to hear that. Very cool. Thank you for checking in, as always. Come Together has a backwards message at the very beginning, which says, I keep myself warm at night. Yeah, Love Me Tender it was Elvis's first movie. It's not one of my favorites. It's hard to recommend, what I think. Definitely King. If you can only see one, if you're only going to see one Elvis movie, see King Creole. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. Okay, the Jailhouse Rock is good too, I think. But there's some other ones too. I like some of his crazy movies. I love. Let's see, which one is it? Live a Little, Love a Little from 1968. I enjoy it. I enjoy watching Girl Happy. You know what I mean? I enjoy watching some of those bizarre, crazy comedies. The Harrison estate sucks, which saddens me, as I, along with everyone, I'm sure, loves Georgia. I really wish that the Harrison estate would get their crap together. Please. Start trying. Use more ingenuity. Put out some George stuff we haven't heard already. Don't just keep repackaging the albums, putting out the albums on the Apple Years set or the Dark Horse Years, and then putting them out with a Dark Horse label. There's so much stuff. Well, I'm really happy to see Michael Noland here. Hello, Michael. I just want to say I'm glad that we're still good after that, video that I did a while ago. Talking about something that had nothing to do with you, but anyway, I'm glad. I like watching your stuff once in a while, especially the live streams. But you say ditto on the song This One and put it there. Yeah, I like Rough Ride also. I like Rough Ride. I like Figure of Eight. I mean, what I like on that, I like This One. Put it there. Rough Ride, Figure of Eight. I'm not that wild about My Brave Face, but it's okay. And I got to tell you, I never liked the song We Got Married when the album first came out, but these days I like it a lot. And it's got, I believe, David Gilmour on the guitar on that, which is really good. So I actually like We Got Married now. Yeah. Hello, a big fan from Sweden here. Thank you. Love your videos. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much. I appreciate the support. Please, thank you so much. Yeah, I forgot about Viva Las Vegas. Yeah, Viva Las Vegas is definitely worth watching. That's one of the better Elvis 60s movies, formula movies, I think. And Add another star if you think Anne Margaret is sexy and you like her. If you know, because that's another feather in the cap. Okay, I absolutely love your three Elvis movies. King Creole is my favorite too. Yeah, thank you. What are your favorite cover songs on Please Please Me with the Beatles and Beatles for Sale, respectively? I mean, let's see. My favorite cover song on Please Please Me. There's more than one favorite on that. It's got to be Twist and Shout. If you're saying if I got to pick one, Twist and Shout would be my number one on Please Please Me, followed by Boys with Ringo on vocals. Then if we're going to With the Beatles, a number one would have to be Money, That's What I Want. Number two might be You Really Got a Hold on Me, Smokey Robinson. Beatles for Sale. My number one cover on that would be Words of Love. That's the one time where I think the Beatles. No, there's not only one time. The Beatles often best the original. Okay, I think Words of Love by Buddy Holly. Not to take anything away from Buddy Holly because I love Buddy Holly. It's sad as hell that we lost him because he was a musical and a songwriting genius, and we really got cheated by his death. However, I think the Beatles' Words of Love is better than Buddy Holly's. So that's my number one on that one. I also I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I like rock and roll music too. You know, rock and roll music is good. You know, maybe I'm forgetting some other ones. I like Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby. Maybe if Elvis had done A Star Is Born and got great reviews, his life might have taken a different path and he would have lived. Who knows? Maybe. Are you going to see Michael, the Michael Jackson biopic? Here's the answer to that. I wasn't originally. You know, I had no interest in seeing the Rocket Man, Elton John, and I had no interest in seeing the Queen biopic. But I got to tell you, I wasn't going to see the Michael Jackson one either. But when I went to see Elvis, the Elvis epic that's in the theaters now, I saw the Michael Jackson trailer, and it looked good. So I think I may see the Michael movie. That's how I sit right now with it. The Man on the Run film did not cover the albums Venus and Mars and Wings at the Speed of Sound. Well, there was some mention about it. At least Speed of Sound was mentioned, at least. But, oh, no, I'm sorry. I was thinking of Wildlife. Excuse me. Wildlife was the one that was mentioned a little bit. Yeah. You know, well, they had a director had at least a half hour more footage that he was going to use. And then I think there's a 4-hour version or something. I think it's 4 hours. There's a half-hour version longer and a 3 or 4 hour version. Is there any movies that we would know that were filmed in your area? Not that I know of, really. I'm trying to think here. You know, I don't think so. Do you have a favorite one-hit wonder, a song by someone or band and never heard of again? Oh, there's a lot of them. Which ones come to mind now? I don't know. How about Daddy Dewdrop? Chicka-boom. Don't you just love it? How about that? And I'm sure how about John Fred and his Playboy band, Judy in Disguise, which in a lot of ways I often call that the best single ever made. And sorry, Beatles. I often say that. And there's other ones too, I'm sure. I had those SSP cars. I forgot about those. Yeah, I had one too. Yep. Have you heard anything on the sound of the new Paul McCartney record? Will sound like Paul or another attempt at appealing to the kids today? I really don't know. I haven't heard anything about it. There's no release date. The only thing that we know for pretty sure is that I believe Paul's manager said the album's done and that Paul is now working on the cover. And, it'll be this year that we'll get it. I don't know, when this year. I'm hoping it's going to be a summer album. It would be nice to have a summer album from Paul. Is the 2025 version of Real Love slower than the 96 version? There are some differences, and right now I'm at a loss to remember them. Yeah, I didn't like the 2025 Real Love the first time I heard it, but now I like it. I've come to appreciate it. Let's see. Joe, is your opinion still about the new Ringo song that's been released on YouTube? I only heard the new song by Ringo, the new Ringo song, and I forget what it was called. The album is Long, Long Road. And what was the song called? It's been a long time or something like that. you know, and I didn't like it on the first listen. And, I'm a huge Ringo fan, and I loved his last album, Look Up. I always have to say that because I want people to know I'm not like a lot of Beatle fans. A lot of Beatle fans out there, they either diss Ringo or they don't even give him the time of day. He's just Ringo. He's not John, Paul, or George. I don't care about his solo career that much. I do. And, I loved his album, Look Up. I think the album Look Up was one of the best albums Ringo ever did last year. That country/Americana album. I rank it number 2 out of his 20-something albums and EPs together. So, having said that, the answer to the question, I only played the new song once. I'm going to wait till the album comes out next month to hear the new song again. I didn't like it. I didn't think Ringo sang it particularly well. I know Ringo was never Enrico Caruso. I know he doesn't have the greatest voice, but I love Ringo for Ringo. I accept Ringo for who he is and the way he sounds. I've always liked Ringo's charm and everything. But the song didn't do it for me. I didn't like his voice in it. I didn't like the words. It was monotonous. But I did like the female vocalist. I know it was Molly Tuttle was one of them, and I forget the other name of the other lady that was on there. I liked the female vocalist on it. That helped. But it didn't do much for me. Stop Making Sense is an incredible music concert movie by the Talking Heads. Was that also Ringo's Mad Day Out purple shirt? I believe it was. Did he wear blue? Did he wear the blue shirt in Mad Day Out of the purple? I'm thinking it was the purple. I also like the parody of Talking Heads Psycho Chicken. Let's see. I did karaoke last night for the first time in years. I did a Talking Heads song. This Must Be the Place. Does John have a headstone anywhere? Not an official headstone. He was cremated. He wasn't buried, Okay, my man. Thank you. Yeah, it's all good. I'm glad we can be honest and still respectful. As I say, it wasn't, again, my comments weren't aimed at your channel. Just want to say, all right, I know I'm going over and over this again, but I want to make it clear because I like you. I don't know problems with anything. The thing is, I noticed that members only thing, I had noticed that they were around in general, but at the time I made the video, I didn't really recall who had how many, which channel had them, which didn't. Did someone have all their entire content like that? Did some of them have just a few videos sprinkled in? That was just my opinion. It wasn't aimed at anybody. I had someone else also thought it was them, but it wasn't. The Harrisons never put out Early Takes Volume 2. I think Early Takes Volume 1 was 2012, I think. Yeah. I love My Brave Face, my favorite on the album. I mean, I got to say, My Brave Face, I thought it was a respectable single to get Paul back again. He was kind of, I still think, and I've argued with this, respectfully argued, debated this with Ken Michaels and some other people that I talked to. I feel that Flowers in the Dirt was a comeback album of sorts from Paul. And I think that was a good comeback single, if you will. Successful. Well, not as successful as it should have been. I still think, and I'd like to get some opinions. Do you think that the song This One would have made a better radio hit single? I think this one would have been a better leadoff single. Okay, it's been too long. That's it. Okay, there you go. Sorry if you've been asked this already. I was wondering if the new... I was asked this already. The new song, I only listened to it the one time. And the reason I didn't listen to it again was I figured since the album's coming out next month, the new album by Ringo, I figured I'll just listen to it then, and I'll play it a few times. And I'll let you know then, and I'll admit it if I was wrong about it. Blue Hawaii was not one of my favorite Elvis movies. It had the great classic song in it, Can't Help Falling in Love. That song is from Blue Hawaii. But, that's not one of my favorites, although I like a lot of other 1960s Elvis type beach movies like that. Okay, let's see. Joseph, hello. I'm excited that the new Beatles biopics are showing probably their whole life instead of just how the band started, like a lot of them do. I'm glad it's showing their later lives. They seem to run the gamut of their careers, which is good. We'll see in a couple of years, I think, you know. Okay, not sure what that is. I like Spin Out too. I think Shelley Fabre was as cute as a button back then. I think she really shines in that movie. I like Spin Out. That's a fun movie. If you're going to see those Elvis movies, you have to say to yourself, "This is not great cinema we're watching here. It's just fun. Either you want to have fun and hear some quirky music and some stupid music sometimes, or not." Okay, has anyone seen the film A Song of Hope? It's an Elvis thing. I don't know that. King Creole may be Elvis's best movie, but lately I find myself in the mood for his 60s formula movies. And sometimes I am too. What can I tell you? I've never seen Glenn Ross, even though I think I have a copy of it somewhere for when I ever get around to it, which maybe never because I'm so busy with so much stuff. John Wesley Harding, for example. Here I am. I call myself a Bob Dylan fan. I know most of Dylan's stuff, I would dare say. But I'll dare say I've never played John Wesley Harding. It's one of his great albums. That one. There's 3 albums I really got to catch up with. 3 great Dylan albums. One of them is John Wesley Harding. Another one is Blood on the Tracks. I only know a couple of songs off that. And Desire. Those are 3 big albums that I got to play yet. Thinking of buying a ticket to see the Libertines on the 4th of July. Okay, have a good time. I think a biopic needs a start, a beginning, and an end. The new Beatles biopics, especially for 2 of them, will be out of date once one passes, if released before they do. I just find Ringo's solo career, the songs are just very basic and predictable, short of the few big singles from the early 70s. Now, with respect, I'm asking you, have you heard all Ringo's albums? I know that's a big task. If you're not, see, my whole thing is if you're not too fond of somebody, why would you listen to everything? Because it's like me. I couldn't care less about Kanye West, for example. Okay, I couldn't care less about him. So how do I know if I'm not going to like any songs? But so with Ringo, have you heard everything and you're making this decision because you've heard him, or I don't know, because there's a lot of good stuff in there. Trying again. The film A Song of Hope is about L.A. Elvis and bandmates. Okay. And yes, indeed. I've heard, Chip, so I've heard. What was the Beatles' best combined A and B side in totality? It's got to be Strawberry Fields and Penny Lane. For me, if I had to pick only one, it would be Strawberry Fields and Penny Lane. And I'm so glad, I'm in the minority. I'm so glad they didn't wait to put it on Sgt. Pepper, that they just put it out ahead. Because it opened a whole new era, the psychedelic era of the Beatles, the 1967 Beatles. Was a hint of what was to come. It's a beautiful single. But I also love She Loves You and I'll Get You. I think that's a slam bang early single, like the Yeah, Yeah, Yeah era of the Beatles. Yeah, 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 double knockout punch. She Loves You and I'll Get You. They had a lot of great A and B singles. Hey Jude and Revolution. Great A and B singles. I mean, okay. See, Ringo wore a yellow shirt and a blue jacket. That's what. There you go for Mad Day Out. See, there you go. I have a vivid memory of Jerry Lewis having a hit song, "Rockabye Your Baby" with a Dixie melody. I was 4 at the time. Ringo has always been stuck in a different era when it comes to his music. He still thinks Buddy Holly is alive. Big difference in the Real Love versions is the later release cuts out much of George's fantastic slide playing towards the end of the song. What a shame. Andy Nichols, I got to tell you, did a really good video somewhere where he talked about why he appreciates the 2025 version, and it made me appreciate it too. I rethought it. That's what's good about videos. Sometimes you can get ideas from other people, maybe inspires you to go back and look at something a little differently. And I really came to think it was okay. And I think he was pointing out that it's still there. The guitar's still there. Maybe I'm wrong, but I forget what's different about it. Some people are paranoid. Not everything is about you. You need no defending, though, Joe. I've come to see you handle yourself on here. Well, yeah, I don't really need to defend myself, but sometimes I do what people call self-defense because I'm just a stickler for accuracy. If somebody says something that's not accurate, I just want people to know the truth. That sounds like, getting all defensive, but I just want people to know the truth. That's one. How about a Ringo DVD movie box set with all his films? I think the problem with that would be that they're different companies. They're owned by different companies, right? My grandkids' faces when I made them watch the Jolson story, and Jolson sings again, timeless music, but I know what you mean there. What do you think of Hope of Deliverance? Such a great song. I love the song Hope of Deliverance. And I've loved it ever since I first heard it. And I think that Hope of Deliverance was a case where Paul was robbed. Paul was robbed of a hit single. Hope of Deliverance should have been a hit single for him in 1993. I also think he was robbed by not having a hit with The World Tonight. I thought The World Tonight from Flaming Pie was a great single. But a lot of this has to do with the marching on of time, First time I saw Paul in concert, I wanted him to play Jet. He did Letting Go instead, a song I like now, but I would have preferred Jet. Yeah, I love both Jet and Letting Go. Luckily, I've seen him enough times that I've seen him do both. So I'm happy with that. Okay, I was never happy with the Elvis Costello collaborations on Flowers in the Dirt. Paul probably had better songs available. Well, I've always said I never was knocked out by the Elvis Costello collaboration. I appreciate that Paul McCartney felt that he wanted to write with Elvis Costello because he felt he got from Elvis Costello what he'd been missing with the John Lennon vibe. He was like John for himself. But to tell you the truth, the song that I liked the best that they did together was probably the song Back on My Feet. And Back on My Feet, that was earlier. That was released a couple of years earlier. If there was some way that he could have held that song, I think it was with Elvis. I don't want, right? Am I right? If he could have somehow held on to that and put it on Flowers in the Dirt, it would have been great, I think. And I will say this. I think which is interesting, some of the demos and rehearsals or early takes for the Flowers in the Dirt extra tracks, where you hear Elvis Costello along with Paul on those demo versions. I think I like them better than some of the ones that were on the album. So I think I appreciate those better. Yep. Which Beatles solo album has improved the most to you since the first listen? Now that I want to answer that because it's got to be something. Paul, Chaos and Creation in the Backyard, probably. The first time I heard Chaos and Creation in the Backyard, I really didn't enjoy it much. And over the subsequent re-listens, it's become a great album to me. A very different Paul album, a very somber Paul album. I always call it the closest thing that we've ever heard by Paul to John Lennon's Plastic Ono Band album, the debut John album. It's the closest Paul comes to getting more in touch with his feelings and a little bit more honest. That's what I like about it. It's not just a la-di-da, la-di-da. Let's, talk about Mary Had a Little. No offense, or whatever, or more Moose than the Grey Goose. Or it's him really getting down to it. That's probably the one. Wildlife also. Wildlife has improved to me a lot over the decades. So I'll go with Wildlife, and even Driving Rain. Driving Rain was an album that I really couldn't stand in 2001 when I first heard it, and it took till recent years where I appreciated it. But I just think that it's still Driving Rain, too long. But It's still not my favorite album by him at all, Driving Rain. But yeah, Change of Habit. Again, I like it just to see Elvis in it. You know, you have Mary Tyler Moore as a nun, and serious role for Elvis in Change of Habit. You're welcome. Okay. Blood on the Tracks meant more to me after I got divorced. I love Street Legal. I want a deluxe box of that. Yeah, I recently played Street Legal for my first time, and I enjoyed it. I did a video on it. Yeah, John played Come Together at the 72 shows in Madison Square Garden. What one other Beatles song would you have chosen for him to play? How about Revolution? I don't know. I'm just trying to think. You know, it's hard when you're going by off the top of your head, you know. I go with Revolution because, you know, it was all about politics for him, right? In 72 and all that. So, yeah, maybe Revolution. Saw a KTUK Revolver mono today. Lennon Harrison aside, which celebrity death upset you? For me, Tina Turner. Well, one of them was Tom Petty. If we're talking about music artists, I didn't expect to hear that Tom Petty had died. That was kind of it upset me, that one. And also, non-music, Rob Reiner. You know, I grew up with the TV show All in the Family, and to me, Rob Reiner will always be Mike Stivic, the meathead, with Archie Bunker, Harold O'Connor. They were a great comedy team. I grew up with that. It's one of my favorite sitcoms. So even though, of course, Rob Reiner was a great director and he did Spinal Tap, and, you know, we're not talking politics or anything, one way or the other. But I'm just talking about from All in the Family, and that was a shock. No matter what, you know, you may feel about somebody one way or the other. That's just crazy. So those are them off the top of my head. Let's see. I'm sorry here. I think I went too far up. I gotta go back down. Okay. I've listened to quite a bit of solo Ringo. The songs just don't hit me like the others do. They seem predictable. Give More Love. I just listened to it. It's just kind of simple. I don't know. Yeah, Give More Love is kind of simple too. Yeah. Would you rather have attended the shows at the Hollywood Bowl at 64 or 65? I guess I'd go for 65. Strawberry Fields Forever and Penny Lane were put out because the record company wanted something to counter the Monkees. Yeah, the Monkees, you know, for a time were bigger on the charts than the Beatles, I think. In 67, maybe? Or 66, one of those. Your thoughts in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees. Where is Three Dog Night, Kansas, who, etc., etc.? Here's my feeling. I didn't make any videos on this. My feeling is always the same when it comes to Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I think the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has become a joke. Okay, it's gotten to the point now where they just put almost anybody in there. There are people that, in my opinion, it's all subjective, deserve to be in there who are not in there, and the people in there that don't really deserve to be in there that are. Then they go through the whole thing where, you know, it's called a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they have people that are not rock and roll in there. So people want to know, should they change it now to the Music Hall of Fame? Change the general title. When it first started, whenever it started, the mid-80s or so, or later 80s, the idea was that it was going to be just rock and roll, and it was going to be people that in some way inspired other people in some way of shape or form. Therefore, you had all the people that belonged in there, right? You had Elvis, the Beatles, Bob Dylan, you had Little Richard, Chuck Berry, Buddy Holly, Fats Domino, all those kinds of people, the Supremes, those people, Beach Boys, they all belonged in there. then it got to be a little out of control. So I think that it's ridiculous now to even debate it. And I always tell people whenever they want to get into a debate about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and who should be in or who shouldn't be in, I always say, why do you even analyze it anymore? The criteria has gone out the door, out the window. It's now a popularity contest, a political contest. It's some people, it's not about the quality necessarily anymore. That's my opinion. Let's see. Well, that's what I feel. It did not start out as utter nonsense, but it's become utter nonsense. So who cares? That's how I feel about it. Which version of Let It Be has the best guitar solo? I agree with you. I think it's far and away the album version. The guitar solo is really dynamic and electrifying and crisp. It's much better. And to me, I'm going to watch how I say it, right? To me, much better on the album. Hello, Mad Team. Do you have any trouble like I do listening to the beginning of Come Together, knowing John says, shoot me? Well, it's funny. I didn't even know for years and years, like a lot of people, I didn't know that's what he was saying. And I'm wondering if shoot me, he goes, well, first of all, let me say this. The way I learned about it was from Mark Lewison, I think. I remember reading Mark Lewison's book, where he talks about all the sessions, and he says, John, shoot me verse. And I thought, I never knew he said that. That's what I first realized. And he does it when he does it in a 1-to-1 concert. He doesn't. I think he just says shoot the word. He doesn't do it with the me. Anyway, I think I'm just guessing it was supposed to be like a drug reference, like shooting up heroin, like shoot me. I don't know. That's what I think it meant. How much do you know about the Beatles Christmas shows? Not that much off the top of my head. I mean, we're talking about the Christmas messages, the Beatles Christmas messages that they put out to the fan club. Are you talking about that? Those I know something. Are you talking about when he did the shows? Flaming Pie tunes upset me a lot once. Then we heard Linda had passed. A few of the songs made real sense. Hats off to Paul. Must have been a sad time. Oh, it was. Linda was the love of his life. Terrible, her passing. But I love Flaming Pie. I think it's one of his best albums. Flaming Pie goes in my top 5 McCartney albums all the time. I love We Got Married. Was that co-written with Elvis? I don't remember. Somebody help me. My first reaction is to say it was not. We Got Married was not written with Elvis Costello, but let me know if I'm wrong. Interesting. I also love Hope of Deliverance, but not Dance Tonight. Yeah, Dance Tonight. Dance Tonight is a fun song. It's a fun song. It's a cute little song. But I like Hope of Deliverance better. What's my favorite movie Western? I like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid best, if you consider that a Western. It's more of a buddy movie. But there's that one. I also like High Noon with Gary Cooper, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. And can I pick Westworld? Because if the science fiction film Westworld counts as that, and I don't really think it does, it's not really a science fiction / Western. But I think Paul often leaves better songs off his albums. You often find them as B-sides. Yeah, there are a lot of sometimes I agree with that Paul doesn't always know what's best for his own albums. A lot of fans think that, Paul fans, yeah, he's got a lot of great B-sides and bonus tracks. Paul, his albums are always interesting, and every one of them do contain a few beasts and a few duffers. Wanderlust, for me, another one that could easily be a hymn. I love Wanderlust. I think Wanderlust is one of Paul's best ever songs, period. However, when I found out it was about, marijuana again, I'm like, I still love this song. It's just that it's still a great song. It's a great song. Hello, James. What's going on? I enjoyed Man on the Run on Amazon Video. I found Paul McCartney to be very humble, which was quite refreshing. The best thing I can say about Man on the Run is that Paul allowed some negative things to be said about him by some of his band members. Talking about like the cheap money situation, not getting enough money. He allowed stuff in there about in the beginning of his career, solo career, where he was not really finding his way right away, and they said he did a lot of like silly music here and there, and some of the band members like Henry McCulloch, McCulloch was saying about how he's a guitarist, he was expecting to be this guitarist and he had to play on Mary Had a Little Lamb, for God's sake. It's amazing that Paul allowed that to go in. I give praise to Paul McCartney for that, because he winds up coming out aces later on, but at first that's what it was like. That's my memory of it. I'm sure a lot of people that were there, that's what it was like. At first it was felt like Paul McCartney, after he did Abbey Road, after he did Let It Be, Long and Winding Road, Let It Be, Hey Jude, all that stuff, then he starts fumbling around with the McCartney album, fumbling around with Bram, and Wildlife. It was a little touch and go for a while, and yeah, of course, there were great moments in there. Great moments, too. I mean, Uncle Albert, Admiral Halsey was was #1 hit and everything. But it was like, what's he doing? So they addressed that in the movie. These days, I love Wildlife. I'm glad he did it. And I enjoy the McCartney album, the first album, because I know what he's doing. And it's really daring, and doing the singer-songwriter bit and the primitive recording from the machine at home, and putting together ideas and playing all the instruments yourself. This is great in retrospect. At the time, people didn't get it, so I'm glad they covered all of that in there. They didn't just praise Paul through the entire movie. What's your opinion of Give My Regards to Broad Street, the album? Anything good on it that you like? The album. If you're talking about the album, I love Not Such a Bad Boy. I think that's my favorite track on it. Out of the new tracks, I love Not Such a Bad Boy. I also love No Values, and I don't mind Paul redoing the Beatles songs on there. I thought there were some nice versions of the Beatles songs as well. I love the medley of Yesterday, Here, There, and Everywhere, and Wanderlust, that trio of songs. I could do without silly love songs on an album. I could do without some others, but overall, yeah. I agree. Revolution would have been great at the 1-to-1 concerts. Yeah, really a lot of good choice. Sgt. Pepper's was supposedly to downplay the Beatles' name, yet they have the name Beatles the size of Texas on the cover. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether they were downplaying it, but I get the idea. You're saying that they were supposed to be Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, What is your opinion, is that, of Prince? Prince, I think, was very talented, great songwriter and talented musician. I didn't really realize how talented he was until I saw the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, where he played lead guitar. Was it on? What was it, man? While My Guitar Gently Weeps. And but my favorite, I never really bought that much Prince. I didn't love that much Prince, although he was good. My favorite song by him, no surprise to anybody who knows my taste, is Raspberry Beret. Thought it was a great single. Okay, hi, Tony. I just saw your It's a Drag video. Paul acted how a person in shock would behave. Well, Tony, I went through great lengths in that to explain how I feel and how I don't blame Paul. I understand. I said that. Paul acted how a person in shock would behave. Every time this topic comes up, Tony, and I'm not saying you're doing it here, but a lot of people other than you here take me to task a lot of times for this. And it's like, again, I don't know what else I can say, it was, things didn't come out right. Paul was in shock. My heart goes out to him, but I just feel like, basically in a nutshell, if you're going to go, he probably should have stayed home that day when he heard the news about John. Yes, I understood. That's not my call to make. That's Paul's decision. So, Paul, have at it. If you want to go out, you want to go on the street, go ahead. You want to go to the record, but then don't come crying to everybody else because the reporter sabotages you or ambushes you. That's what they do. And At that time, Paul was in the business for at least 20 years when that event happened. He knows how the paparazzi and the reporters are. What did you expect? So I feel sorry for him. I know he loved John. He was not dissing John. He was not disrespecting John. He just was like to the reporter, like, fuck you. You're asking me these questions, and I'm not going to answer. I'm not going to sit and cry and give you what you want. So fuck you. I get the whole thing, and I support him now. But I'm just saying, what did you expect if you go out? That kind of thing. Red Rubber Ball is a decent song. It's never been one of my favorites, though. It's decent. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a joke. Danny hasn't been inducted yet. Yeah, I don't understand why Danny is not. My friend Danny is like the best singer there is, and he's not inducted. How does that happen?
We're so sorry, Uncle Albert. We're so sorry if we caused you any pain. The kettle's on the boil. We're so easy, brought away.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that. Anyway, it's an oversight on their part. Hello, DJ Trish. What's going on? What do I think of James McCartney and his music? I don't listen to it. I have no interest in James McCartney. Nothing against him. I got to go back up. Here we go again. I think Mother Nature's Son sounds better without the overdubs. I had some music on shuffle while working from home, and Come On To Me came on. I forgot what a beast of a track it is. A great, fun track. I like Come On To Me. Another example of a song I didn't like when I first heard it, but boy, did it grow on me quick. Come On To Me was a great little single for Paul, but as I say, by the time that came out in 2018, nobody wanted to know with the radio. But I think it's a fine single. Hello, Eric, by the way. I always like the album version of Let It Be Better. Joe, George was with Maureen Starkey. If you're talking about when he slept with Maureen Starkey, his best friend Ringo's wife, yes. George gets a free pass for that for people, that's not a cool move. Joe, the Guess Who aren't even in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. See, that's crazy. That's just crazy. As a Canadian, that was the nail in the coffin for me about the Hall of Fame. They're BS now. They induct anybody that shouldn't be in. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy if the Guess Who aren't in. You see what I mean? It's a joke. The CD singles of Free as a Bird and Real Love had 3 unreleased B-sides each. When Now and Then failed to appear in 96, we were robbed of 3 more unreleased tracks. Blazing Saddles, that's a fine movie, but I consider it a comedy more than a Western. So, Christmas shows, I was talking about the live concert pantomime shows they did in Britain. The 63 show, I remember hearing the music in it. So, Mike McGear would be great to interview. Would you like that? I don't know what I would ask him, except what is Paul McCartney really like? I really don't know. Hello, Trish, again. I think I said hello to you, but I'll say it again. Do you think you might do another video with Matthew Street? You guys had a good discussion after Paul was on the Saturday Night Live special. Yeah, Matt's a friend of mine, and if we have a topic we want to discuss, that would be great. He's always willing to do that. He doesn't do a lot of live appearances, but when he does, it's appreciated. I don't know if we did a lot of shows on Fab Gab. If you ever look in my playlists under Fab Gab, we did a lot of shows on that in that series early on. On the studio version of I Want to Hold Your Hand, after the verse, when I say that's something, if you listen carefully, one of the Beatles repeats the word something. Do you have any idea who says it? It comes up later. No. I can't picture it in my mind now. Was it intentional to have the song Money and then the opposite in Can't Buy Me Love on the next album? Was it intentional to have the song Money and then the opposite in Can't Buy Me Love on the next? I don't think they gave that much thought, actually. No. Some people say Baby's Request from Back to the Egg is lightweight, but I love it. I thought it was a good ending for the album. Well, I love the song Baby's Request. It's beautiful, but it doesn't fit Back to the Egg to me. I mean, Back to the Egg is a rock album mostly, but there's stuff on there like After the Ball, which is kind of a, ballady song. But I like that song After the Ball together with Million Miles. I love that. And I love Baby's Request. I love Back to the Egg. Like you, I give my regards to Broad Street album. The movie, not the best. Yeah. I would like to see Give My Regards to Broad Street revisited and the movie be re-released, on better quality on home video. Are you a fan of the 10 songs Elvis Costello and Paul wrote together? No, I'm not really. I said that a little earlier. I think you missed it, but I just think I never really was much for that collaboration. I didn't get much out of that collaboration between them. I like Back on My Feet, the best thing that they did to me. My Brave Face is okay. So many bands have a song called I Need You. Yes, okay. This is true. Yeah, we talked about this earlier. I don't know what I don't know what to say. I didn't see Borrowed Time yet. Anyway. Oh yeah, Turn Down There. I forgot about that. Turn Down There is good. Yeah. The album called McGear is good. I think that's the one you're talking about. I like that album. Did you see the Rolling Stone list of the top 10 worst songs of the 60s? The Beatles made the list. Really, what was their song? How is Bazooka Joe doing? I never get really much of a chance to see Bazooka Joe. He only comes into the store early. He comes in early before the store opens, and he works in the back room, and then he leaves, and other people run the store. So, he's still going through, I believe, treatments. Do you like champagne or caviar? Have you ever had a cigar? I've never had a cigar, never smoked anything. And caviar, I've had caviar. It's not my favorite thing in the world, but it's okay. Champagne, I'm not wild about either, honestly. Is it true that the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper costumes are going on tour? I don't know what this is about. Is the costumes, Sgt. Pepper costumes are going on tour? Is Maybe I'm Amazed the best song from the McCartney album and Ram? If you're going to put both of them together, I think Maybe I'm Amazed is a lot of times I call it the best song Paul ever wrote. And that says a lot because he wrote like hundreds of great songs, But I don't know. It's tough to say, Maybe I'm Amazed and Uncle Albert to me are the two best songs there. Are you looking forward to the new album coming out by Ringo? I'm looking forward to the album. I didn't like the new single at all, but there's a whole album's worth of material on there to hear yet. So I want to hear the album. I am looking forward to it. I saw photos of Paul at Stella's recent show last week. Wow, every time I see him, he's aging so fast. He did look like he was aging a little, and I'll tell you, I also think that Ringo is finally looking like he's aging a little bit. And please, again, it's a shame that I got to say this all the time. I'm not insulting Ringo, and I'm not insulting Paul. You see, we're Beatle fans. I've watched them my whole life. I've looked at them. I've observed everything, watched everything on them. So I can tell how they look different. I'm not holding it against them. I'm just saying, yeah, Paul is starting to look a little more frail for Paul. And Ringo is looking a little more frail for Ringo. Yes, Paul is going to be 84 this year. Ringo is going to be 86. So what do you expect, right? I think we're lucky. Yes, you got to check every box so nobody gets upset. Yes, we're lucky. We're insanely lucky to have them. It's fantastic that they're still here. We're very lucky. I'm very happy. They're still making music. They're still touring. They're playing concerts. But I'm just making an observance. That's all. I observed that they're looking like they're getting on, whereas they didn't look like that so much 5 years ago. Yeah. Off topic, I'm drinking some hot Irish breakfast tea. I like the taste of black tea. Yeah, when I drink tea, I have black tea, but I don't think it tastes like much, actually. I'm not Canadian, but I think Bryan Adams is another act that should be considered. I like Bryan Adams, some songs by Bryan Adams. When John was murdered, I was 16. At that time, I thought Paul's comment about it's a drag pissed me off, but over the years, I understood it better. I definitely understand it, definitely. When you go to the cinema, do you like to get there before the lights dim and sit through all the ads and upcoming trailers before the main feature? These days, it's getting insane. Because they're not just playing 2 or 3 trailers. They're playing like 11 or 12 trailers. It's ridiculous, So these days, I don't like sitting through all the trailers and the ads and all that crap. It goes on way too long these days. It used to be more of a pleasure in the old days, but these days, not so much. Has Paul ever sang No More Lonely Nights live? I don't believe he ever has. I wonder if he could even sing it now. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. And Backseat of My Car is my favorite on Ram. A lot of people love that song. That's another one of his great songs that I don't love as much as everybody else. I like it. I don't love it. I know that's crazy. Everybody loves that. I was watching a review of Nielsen Schmielsen yesterday. Do you know much about it? Now, when it comes to Harry Nielsen, I know a few tracks by him, but don't know the album. It is interesting that Paul sang When I'm 64 and soon will be 84. What's weird is that Paul once sang When I'm 64 and now I'm going to be 64 next month. That's what's crazy. Will there be a Beatle Fest? They're saying they're going to try to revamp the Beatle Fest. They're going to try to redo it and fix it and make it different and new. In March, you're asking? Next year. Not this year. You're talking about next year, right? Because there's nothing this year. They have nothing this year. They're trying to get it ready to go again for next year, but I'll believe that when I see it. I'm going to start winding down a little bit here because I'm having a great time. The questions here have been really great. This is one of the best live streams in a while. Don't forget, I try to do this every Saturday, so please come back, save your questions. But I'm going to start. Paul has finally accepted his grade, but Ringo has not. Yep. All right. So, okay. I just want to remind everybody, please, if you're so inclined, I'm trying to get more subscribers at my other channel, particularly. I'm trying to get more subscribers at this channel here, which is Mayo Loves Mondays. If you like my rant videos, anytime I do new rant videos, the new rant videos are done here. Okay, at Mayo Loves Mondays. And it's not just rants, it's about life management. It's about retirement. I know some of you are not retired yet. Maybe you don't care, but it's other stuff, life problems, things managing your time, trying to fit more into your life, health, wellness. I'm trying to do stuff on that. For those who are just getting here now, I'm not sure at this time whether I'm going to be able to do the Sunday show over there, the diet and health show, do a live show on Sundays with that over there at Mayo Loves Mondays. I don't know. I'll have to see because I'm supposed to go out, supposed to go to a movie. I may not be able to do it. But anyway, there's that. And also, lastly, before I go, I also want to show this other channel, which you might know, for movies, television, nostalgia, and pop culture. There's Mr. Cinemayo. Okay, there's all kinds of things. So basically what I do is I make all kinds of videos. I make videos about the Beatles. I make videos about other music. I make videos about movies. I make movies about television, pop culture, nostalgia, autograph collecting, comic book collecting, retirement, things that piss you off in life, like when you have to wait online at a supermarket and then just as you get there, another cashier opens up and you missed it like that. Little things that annoy you. This is all over my 3 channels. It's a trifecta. It's the Mayo Trilogy. Mayo Trilogy. You have me and Mr. Mayo, you have Mr. Cinemayo, and you have, finally, Mayo Loves Mondays. So please consider supporting me over there. Whenever I do new videos, you'll get them in your feed. All right. Thank you all. Much appreciated. And I'm just looking at some of the last comments. Thank you, everybody. I should be here same time next week, give or take.